You're watching the GameSpot stage on GameSpot.com. We don't have enough reasons to say the word GameSpot around here. I'm Danny Dwyer from GameSpot, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jimmy Wisenhunt, Senior Designer on H1Z1.
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm excited, man. I'm awake. This is the first E3 where, like, this part of the day, I'm still awake. I have energy. It's
Really?
good. It's been a lot of fun.
Did you take care of yourself last night?
Yes, I did. I went straight to bed. It was a hard thing to do, but I managed to do it. So.
H1Z1, for folks who don't know what it is, just give us the sort of broader pitch of what's different about your zombie survival game. Because,
Sure.
you know, I'll call a spade here. There are a number of zombie survival games out there.
Absolutely. It's turned into a genre, right? And we've always been big fans of that genre, and the guys working on this project have pretty much been handpicked. Like, we've all migrated because we like working on this type of game, and we want to play it. It's an MMO. That's one of the biggest things with us is at Sony Online, we work on large games. We're all about sandbox gameplay and really giving the player the experience they want. And we've opened development practices with this as well. I know you talked to Landmark earlier, and that was just a big thing with us as well. But it's post-apocalyptic, and it's about forming your own story and trying to survive. Just imagine you're dropped off in the woods. You don't have your phone. There's no GPS. Those satellites don't work anymore, and you've got an axe. What are you going to do? I mean, you have to figure that world out. It's a lot of fun. Excellent.
You guys at SOE seem to be embarking on some very interesting projects. I know you worked on PlanetSide 2 as well.
Yep.
What is it about? What are you trying to do here that you think other, you know, like the DayZs in the world and whatnot? What is it about having this kind of the angle that you're taking that things separates it away from those competitors, I guess?
Sure. Well, kind of how it all started is, once again, almost everyone on the team worked on PlanetSide and has dealt with this engine before. So we looked at the engine and we said, what can we do and what would be really fun with this? And we're all big fans of the DayZs and the genre in general. We wanted to see our own take of it. There's some things that we really enjoy about survival that we think other people would as well. And a lot of that has to do with really deep crafting and experimentation with different types of ingredients and exploring a world. We're starting with 64 square kilometers and growing into other areas of the United States. So we're really, really excited to see where this goes because we're having the players help us direct it.
Cool. So let's deep dive on some of that stuff then. Let's talk about the crafting. What it looks like from what I've seen about H1Z1 is that the onus is very much on the idea of survival and the difficulties therein.
Sure.
So you said you don't start with much in terms of what you have in your inventory. What are the types of stuff you will be crafting and how far does that go?
Sure. So there's two different types of crafting in our game. There's your personal progression where you might craft a bow and arrow, or you might craft something like a spear to go fishing and that sort of thing. And there's also crafting things that you're going to put into the world, and that might be a foundation for a home, the walls that go within that, and storage sheds and all that fun stuff. Starting in the world with the axe, you kind of look through your initial recipe list. You've only got 5 in front of you.
Okay.
And kind of the common sense one's a campfire. You're trying to survive. Might be dark when you log in. And you need wood. And you have an axe. We want that to be intuitive. And the first thing you do is run up to a tree and you chop the tree down. It'll fall. So you've now made noise. And a player might have seen that fall. The zombies are like, what was that? Let's go find out what that was. And from there, you're just going to work your way through. You can opt to build something like a spear. It's something that actually, this is the first time we're talking about it, is we're going to put in thrown spears and some very improvised weapons. There still are your assault rifles and that sort of thing in game, but you're only going to be able to find those, and they're incredibly, incredibly rare.
And then on the top end of that, are you actually building shelters and places to live and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. The Foundation's kind of the first beginning of that. There's different types. Some are better than others in the way they're bigger, and some of them have stilts, so you have more area to put them down on the side of a hill. And from there, it's freeform walls. Throw a roof on it, put some storage inside of it, become self-sustainable. In the world, there's dirty water you can fill up your bottle with. You can drink that. It's going to hydrate you, but it's going to hurt you. Instead of having to deal with filtering that as you get your home and your little area, you can get things like dew collectors and catch rain and get fresh water that way. And that's really kind of where the high end goes.
James Knack on Twitter asked a very good question. Can we play the game without even without engaging in social interaction, or do we have to communicate for some features? So presumably, you know, one of the best ways is to survive is safety in numbers. So is this the type of game where you're going to have to engage other people, or how are you going to?
It's definitely not going to be a requirement, but it's highly recommended. We are leveraging the world against players, and we're not afraid to admit that. It's going to be much more challenging than what people are used to. There are hordes of zombies. The zombies are difficult to kill, and there's not a lot of ammo. As we've kind of been running through the game, we have it here on the floor. And a natural amount of ammo in the game is 300 rounds. Okay, that's incredible amounts.
Okay.
And I've run out of that ammo trying to escape one pocket of zombies. So coming up against friends or coming up against people and at least trying to talk your way through the psychopath you're smelling on the internet's mind and hope he can help you, that might be a good move. but you never know. We're not going to try to keep our players from communicating or make them communicate. I do recommend it, though, guys. I'm serious. I really do.
I guess one of the problems with eventually getting good at any one of these games is that at a certain point, like you said, you have enough firepower that perhaps packs of zombies, especially if they're kind of dumb zombies like people might be used to in DayZ, the challenge sort of stops, and perhaps that's why humans start turning on humans more. How are you guys going to stop it so that at a certain point, when your player is comfortable, where they built their house, where they have their walls up, they are sustainable with food maybe, and they have some sort of water purification, that the world is still challenging for them?
Well, so it's you kind of create exponential problems for yourself. So the more noise you make, the more zombies show up, and the more angry they get, and the more other types of wildlife you attract. The larger you build out, the more attention you're going to get.
Right.
The undead in our game is a little more intelligent than what people are used to. We actually were talking about it with some of the players. We had a situation where our system, once again, this is emergent AI. We haven't talked about it just yet, but zombie was running through the front door, and one of our devs closed the door. And the back door was closed as well, so he turned around, he's like, I'm going to go this way. And he opened the door, and the thing was waiting for him right there.
Wow.
He ran around the back super fast, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye running around the side. So it's not, you're not going to outsmart a bunch of these guys. I mean, of course, people are always going to be the most intelligent and, I guess, unpredictable foe, but zombies themselves, they do make a lot of decisions you might not expect sometimes.
So when you're crafting this game, you're obviously going to try and ensure that players are at least adhering to some sort of social quorum, or like saw with Red Dead Redemption, for instance, when their multiplayer people were tying folks up and sticking them on railroad tracks. Some of the problems with other zombie-type games is that often there are groups of bandits going around attacking freshly respawned players. How much is player versus player combat an onus for you guys, and how will you try and address problems that can arise from OP players meeting new players?
So anything's really a possibility. There's always the wild card factor. Once again, one of the first things you're going to be able to do, it'll take a little bit of time, but to get a bow together and to get a spear together, that might sound super inferior, but let's really think about this. A bow through the head is pretty effective. Now, granted, that's a slow projectile, and it's only going to fire one at a time, but you still have a shot to fight these people if you run into them. And as an experienced player who has a gun, you're going to need these new people, and hopefully we're going to see people trying to help them out, because on their own with all their ammo, they're just going to keep bringing more and more hordes of zombies and wildlife to them. They need to try to help recruit people.
So you guys have been pretty active on Reddit as well. There's lots of conversations about the future of this game, because this is it's an SOE. You guys are pretty much on top of the free-to-play stuff. So I know that you guys are still thinking about your monetization. Do you know in which ways you're going to bring that into the game? Because the initial worry would be, oh man, all these zombies are killing me. I'm going to spend $10 and get this massive rocket launcher.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pay $10 and run 10 meters a second or something.
Yeah.
Right? No.
That's way better.
We don't want to touch the hardcore survival aspect of the game, because that's why we love it. And that's why players like these sort of games. It's the tension. And even the thought that in the back of your head I could throw some money at us and suddenly be fine. We want to avoid that. So stuff we're looking at selling are cosmetic stuff. We're still having a lot of conversations about it, and the cosmetics won't be the same as you find in the world. Things in the world will keep you warm and will affect you in some way. This kind of stuff would not. And we're still in discussion with other things.
Okay, and I guess you guys have been pretty, I remember with PlanetSide 2, you were pretty vocal with your community as well, so it's interesting from somewhere in the press side to see that channel happening, because often we are the conduit, so like it's cool to see that happening. Another aspect of that I've read about is the idea of custom servers. You guys have, do you have a max player count already for the servers?
We're still filling that one out because the world will grow. So when early access is really going to help us on Steam, it's really going to help us figure out what number is that fine balance between seeing people and not feeling like you're in a big death match. So it'll keep growing though as the world grows.
And is the custom server stuff, would that be maybe something down the line, like allowing players the ability to create their own? Because obviously from a business standpoint that causes issues.
Yeah, so being an MMO company, we're very proud of our architecture and how many players we can support and everything, and we're going to host all the servers. We have looked at, we've talked about this actually publicly, giving people tokens and the ability to vote on certain rule sets. So the next server that spins up, it could be a different rule set. People want to see zombies with more HP that do more damage, or maybe there's some penalties to tearing down someone's home, or more PvE based versus PvP. We have a lot of options because, once again, we're leveraging ForgeLight, the PlanetSide 2 engine. So there's a lot of things that we can turn on and off per server, and we want to make sure we keep that moving forward.
Cool. Hiplet in the GameSpot chat asks, what type of character customization is there? So in terms of both setting up your character initially and then going on throughout your experience in H1Z1?
Sure, yeah, actually, good question. Like right now, we have a white guy in the game, and then from there, we're going to be going out to male, female, all races will be in there. And that'll be about it for the character customization on the character create. But when you get into the game itself, we have the shirts, the pants, the backpacks are going to change, different hats. If you want to be the guy that stands out all the time and dress in bright orange, you're more than welcome to.
Well, actually, to that point, if you wear a massive Hawaiian red and white shirt, will the zombies maybe notice you more in the woods?
Haven't thought about that.
All right. You can have that one for free.
That's right. I like it. Appreciate
Alak in the GameSpot chat asks, what kind of weapons are available? So you've talked about the sort of low-end axe, bow and arrow and whatnot. What are we talking about on the top end and in between?
Okay, so initially in the game, you're going to see an AR-15, an M16A4, and you're going to see pump shotgun 12 gauge, a 308 hunting rifle, and it'll grow from there. I know for a fact, right off the bat, we're going to have the M16, AR-15, and 1911 in the game. And we're going to roll out from there. Our goal is to get the basics of each system in so players can help kind of direct where to go.
Okay.
And we're going to continue to grow out with more and more and more guns.
So to that effect as well, and what I'm looking at here is evoking memories of watching the second half of the Walking Dead season just last week. In terms of vehicles, obviously that's an important aspect of that universe. And if you're creating a world which spans a great distance, then vehicles are a useful resource, but are probably more. It's probably more interesting if they're rare. So how are you guys tackling that? Do you have vehicles in the game, and how often do you come across them?
So there are vehicles in the game right now. Right now it's an off-roader. It's a four-door Jeepish type vehicle that's four-wheel drive, all that fun stuff. And that's where we're going to start with early access. And because of the systems and things we've learned from Planets, I have a very dynamic system. We can have aircraft one day if we so see fit to throw that in, and we can put in cars. We can have all kinds of different stuff in the game, and we will.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to go? Because you can kind of go crazy with that stuff if you want. You can do underwater stuff. You can have flying.
Yeah,
you're open to that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we are. I mean, really, once again, getting that off-roader in there first and seeing kind of what's missing from the puzzle will decide what we do next.
Okay. And again, it's an MMO, so it is a. You can go two ways with that. You can go Rust has a sort of an open structure where you are sort of like multiplayer Minecraft, where you are lots of people existing in that world, and there are baddies and antagonists, and you have to kill them. The traditional MMO we would see, especially with guys we'd EverQuest next on, would be a more quest-based scenario. H1Z1, are you guys going to have a sort of main? Are you going to have quest lines, or are you basing this on emergent gameplay and what the players create themselves?
So it's going to be based on emergent gameplay. A lot of the content we'll put in will just kind of inherently drive players to new areas, because starting in this kind of northwestern feeling rolling hills area, play with that for a little while, and suddenly there might be an available cityscape they can wander themselves off to. They can just keep going in old direction and find something new. So those will be driving forces behind the game, because in these new areas there'll be new sites and new things available to work with. But no, there are not going to be any quest lines or anything like that in game.
Jonathan Pierce on Twitter, sorry, I'm trying to get as many of these in as possible.
Sure, absolutely.
He asks, if you die in the game, do you have to completely restart from scratch, or will you keep any of the items you've crafted? So how is respawning working?
So it is a permadeath game. What is on your character when you die is lost. Now, this is really fun.
I love it.
Now, think about this for a second. I really want you to think about this. So you die, and I mean, we're familiar with the old RPGs and everything, where you have to go for a corpse run and be like, crap, let me go get my stuff before someone else grabs it, right?
Yeah.
You come back and your undead self's walking around, so you might end up having to fight yourself to get your stuff back. There's a problem to that too, though, is you're going to see that was a person. He's got a hat on. And you're like, wait, that's not a normal. Yeah. And then you go kill that thing. There's a reason to kill that zombie, because who knows what that character had on him before he died. And also, sad part about it is, if you die, you might go wandering off somewhere before you find yourself again. It could be a week before you find yourself, and that'd be pretty fun.
So if you die, you restart, re-roll, new dude.
You get to keep your own name, though. We're not going
to
force you to create a brand new character. It won't say, so-and-so will live on in infamy or something like that. Like, you actually get to keep your name.
I love it. Yeah. Absolute pleasure. Jimmy Wisnott, thank you so much for coming on. H1Z1, if folks want to get a hold of it, when is it going to be available and on what platforms?
We're working towards it every day, man. We're trying to get to early access. We'll make sure we have the basics in before we throw that in. It's coming very, very close. Very, very close.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. Enjoy the rest of your E3.
Thank you.